Hello, hello, hello. Did you miss me? Hey, how you doing today? This is Miss J. Now, I am the new host for Business Weekly, which will be starting on January 9th. But here at Afrobeat, Lovely Afrobeat Music Talk Radio, we are a team. And unfortunately, today, Nadia could not be with us. So I'm here to host the show for her today because there is so much community conversation to be had, honey. And we are not going to deprive you of this tea. Okay, so I'll be hosting mine starting January 9th. Tune in with me at 6 o'clock p.m. every Thursday. We're going to be talking business. That's what I love. But today, I'm honored to be speaking about a couple of great community conversation topics, including a guest that we're going to be talking about an amazing organization that she's been hosting, and we want to get to know more about it. But before we get started, let's put on the intro to our community conversations in honor of our absent guest, who's always here with us in spirit. There she is. Fabulous, isn't she? What's going on, people? Here I'm representing J. Nadia Headley, and I'm Miss J, founder of The Empire. And here we're going to be talking about children. As always, education, academics, things that impact the lives of our children. Now, we like to sing the song, I Believe the Children Are Our Future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. But are we really doing any of that? Well, today we're going to be talking about that with Yaya, the founder of Kids on a Mission to Excel, a little bit later on. And we're going to be exploring the realities of literacy, attainment, and how we as a community can empower youth to take up leadership in their own education. But what's going on in current news? Well, let's jump over to that topic. Where's my intro screen? I love this show. I missed you all so much. I hope you're doing well. All right, there we are. Community come along. What are we talking about today? Well, on October 3rd, 2019, the Ontario Human Rights Commission, which is the OHRC, announced a public inquiry into human rights issues that affect students with reading disabilities in Ontario's public education system. The Right to Read inquiry, which focused on early reading skills, found that Ontario's public education system is failing students with reading disabilities such as dyslexia and many others by not using evidence-based approaches to teach them to read. The Right to Read inquiry report highlights how learning to read is not a privilege, but a basic and essential human right. The report includes 157 recommendations to the Ministry of Education, school boards, and faculties of education on how to address systemic issues that affect the right to learn to read. The report combines research, human rights expertise, and lived experiences of students, parents, and educators who are providing recommendations on the curriculum and instruction. Early screening, reading interventions, accommodation, professional assessments, and systemic issues. Implementing the OHRC's recommendations will ensure more equitable opportunities and outcomes for students in Ontario's public education system. If you want to read more about this, please log on to ohrc.on.ca, where you can look at various other contexts around this situation. You can read about the experience of the students and families, the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit experiences as well. If you'd like to, you can also write to us here at the station, and we will definitely take that time to pass it on to Nadia so she can continue this community conversation. There's more resources there as well that you can connect to, where you can read the full executive summary audio, which comes in an audio book. You can also get the full report and the live stream, which is about the Right to Read inquiry report release. You'll also see remarks by OHRC Chief Commissioner Patricia DeGuire, and you can also check on the news release. So that's what's happening today in the community. Next up, let's talk about introducing our first guest. Hello, Miss Yaya. How are you today?
Wonderful, Miss J. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, girl, of course. I mean, Nadia invited you. I just crashed the party and took the interview. For those who don't know Yaya, let me give you a quick introduction of this amazing woman sitting right here. Yaya Boma Bibi is the founder of Kids on the Mission, right, to Excel, otherwise known as KME, a Toronto based nonprofit dedicated to transforming Black youth. Since 2011, she has created safe spaces for personal growth, leadership development, and self esteem building through customized coaching workshops and transformative events. Passionate about addressing core challenges in youth development, Yaya involves parents in the process, fostering strong foundations at home. You should be doing this the whole time because it's so nice. And there you go. Her innovative approach has positively impacted countless young lives, inspiring them to make positive choices and unlock their full potential. Can we get some snaps for this rock star? Welcome to Community Conversations right here on Love Beat Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. So tell us, how's your day going so far? And your new year, Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you too. I'm enjoying my day. It's about resting, restarting. It's Sunday.
Sunday, right? It's time to get the engine all primed up for the week. I feel you. So let's talk a little bit
Exactly.
now around the organization. First off, I'd always like to hear the story of how did it come about. Now, I know I just read some of it, but from your perspective and your lens, and what would you say was the real gem that just kind of light the fire under the organization?
Well, I was a Sunday school coordinator and teacher at a local Congolese church here in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was doing the work, I noticed basically, I'll say that I was exposed to a lot of the challenges that the young lady were experiencing. But I remember one particular scenario where one of the young girl, she was going through puberty and body changing, body order, and
Mm-hmm.
the classmates were making fun of her. And I noticed how, it affected her self-esteem. So at that time, I came up with an idea to do like a hygiene session. After that particular session, I noticed how the young lady became so confident. She will come in the class, participate in the activities. So for me, it was like, okay, so that's what it takes, like
Right.
information, knowledge. Once a child feel safe, when they have the right information,
Yes.
they can show up differently. I ended up leaving the church, and the kids were complaining, yeah, yeah, like you left us. So at that time, I said, you know what, let's do an ice cream day. And then the next time it was, okay, let's do this, let's do that. And I end up start doing activity. I said, you know what, let me just start a organization,
Yeah, why
start
not?
doing more.
We just started with, so really it started with ice cream. I'm down for that. Nothing
Yeah,
wrong
I
with
took them to
vanilla and chocolate can't
Yorkville.
solve. We've had some really in-depth conversations over ice cream. It's like it's just really just kind of disarms you, and it's true. You're doing it the right way. I mean, I have about 30 years experience working in the youth sector, and I understand exactly that. There's a place where we want to create those safe spaces, but they have to be cool, right? That that you're not like wanting to walk away. So tell us a little bit about that target market. I know you do some youth work in Canada, but also in the Congo. Am I correct with that?
Exactly.
All right, well, talk to
So
us a little bit about that.
yeah, yeah. So it's the same concept, and then you see, youth are youth, regardless of where they are. And I
Mm-hmm.
found the challenges. I'll say for particular the Black youth. I found like it's globally, whether I'm talking those are in the continent or here in the diaspora. I see that
Mm-hmm.
there's a pattern. Which is also connected to what happened in history, and I feel like we are in a season where we're recovering, we are in the healing. This generation will heal one portion, and I feel like the next one will have to do it. So that's why I saw the need that I was seeing here with the youth in the diaspora. The same need
Mm-hmm.
is needed in the continent as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we're taking the work in Africa as well.
And it's funny. We all think that we have so much different experiences because of where we live. And to your point, and right to just what you said, they're all the
Yes.
same. We're all humans, right? Same basic needs, same basic exemptions, and it would be interesting to see, because I mean we are in the age of the millennial, and I would be interested to see. I mean, I have, young adults now. I could say a teen and a young adult. And I said to him, I would be interested to see what you're going to say in 10, 15 years, and as you look back and say, this is how my upbringing was, or where I lived, or what I did, and where I went to school. So yes, that's very, and another point that you said that was very key was that there needs to be that place where they can speak and learn, because sometimes we underestimate the power of um, lack of influence and role modeling, right? I think
Exactly.
we naturally sometimes assume, well, your parents should have taught you this, and that's not necessarily true, because again, we don't know what they went through, what
Exactly.
knowledge they didn't have, right? So in speaking to that point, what are you seeing with youth and their ability to comprehend and process information?
What I'm seeing, um, I was even before we even start the the show, I was just saying, um, when I get to talk to the parents, I feel like whatever that they're complaining about that the children are doing, I found the parents doing the same
Ah,
thing.
girl, there's a saying, apples don't fall far from the tree.
So
Talk to
really,
me.
I had to change my approach of
Yeah,
because I felt like I was giving information to the youth, and then they will go home. It was a little bit of a conflict because maybe
yes,
the parents were not keeping up with what the children were learning.
yeah.
So my approach is now I'm working with the parent to make sure that the
In
whatever
fact, when they come in, you're like,
that
call your mom and dad real quick, real quick. We need to do an
So I'm
assessment
like,
on you
Mom,
tonight.
Dad, I need your support. So these young
True.
queens and kings can move forward. So
Yes.
definitely working with youth, we cannot do it without the parents. So we need the parents to support the learning that we're giving the children at home. So
Mm-hmm.
really, that is where the big struggle is, and also the
Yeah.
parent got to be open um, to learning and implement
Learning and
different ways.
relearning. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Exactly, relearning.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I just have to remind them really the reason I'm doing this, we have something in common, which is
Right.
we want the young queens and kings to win. So that's one thing that we have in common. So let's do this. Let's try this and see how it's going to work. So yeah, that's
So,
one of the big thing that I noticed.
so you hear that, parents? Don't be out there being a block to your children's success. That's what she's saying. Get it together. It takes a
Exactly.
village to raise a child, right? And that's truly what you're
Exactly.
embodying right now. You're helping parents to see that, you can send your kids to school, but if you're not keeping up with the changes and the trends, it's hard to support them once they leave the school. Right. And so
Exactly.
what I'm hearing for you, it's the same thing. Like if you're teaching life skills or whatever the case is, and I think some parents don't seem to understand, especially coming if they're immigrating to Canada or even around the world. But especially in the immigration, I find they still are holding on to cultures that don't exist here. And so in the home, the child is very cultured to what they knew, what the way the parent grew up, but they don't understand the translation doesn't sometimes come the same, right? And so
Exactly.
and because let's be real, kids are not at that point where they're talking about tolerance and safe spaces. No, it's a war town out there. Like when you're growing up, we had to just fend for ourselves, right? So it's twice as hard for the immigrant children to come in,
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
they're not only just battling social norms, they're battling cultural norms. Have you?
Exactly. That's a
Sure
big
you
one.
have, yeah, I'm sure you have experienced that. And what are some
Exactly.
of the strategies that you're using to help them to, at least the parents, to help them to understand the transition?
So dialogue, it's a big one,
Hmm.
and also exchanging information, because I know
Yeah.
between the work that parents also trying to adapt to a new environment can be overwhelming. But creating information session where it's easy for them to capture, um, uh,
Nice.
just being sincere about it, not making it a safe space for the parents as well to come in and and
Nice.
say what they need to say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's a lot of work. One thing that I also mentioned is I also realized it was home organization skills, right? I see some of the problems. It was not because the child didn't do X or Y, Z. It was just because at home there was not a proper system to organize the house, to keep things
Mm-hmm.
moving, flowing. So that's something that we're actually working on this year to launch a course for the parents for home organization, and probably gonna bring out some workshop for that and make sure that for an instance, I'll give an example. There was a young lady. She's very creative, and children who are creative, they're very visual, so they need to see things. So that particular young lady will decorate her room with things that are like out there, and but for the parent, it was more like, oh, this child, she's messy
Mm.
because
So self-expression wasn't on the palette. Like, come
exactly,
clean
and
up this
then
room.
the parent was more like neat. They need things to be
Mm-hmm.
put away. That's their parent style. But the parents forgot that was the child's bedroom. So
There's space,
she
right?
needs to decorate it or organize it based on her style.
Yes.
So it's little things like that, but it can create frustration and stress
That's true.
uh, and then
Tension.
breakdown sometimes. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why we're coming up with new ways. Like I mentioned, these classes come in for the parents for home organization and making sure that they're implementing systems that are going to basically help them create peace and harmony, because that's what we
True.
need. Because our youth are already stressed as well with everything that they face
Those are facts.
when it comes to
Those are
school.
facts.
So home should be the place where they should feel peace and that harmony and that love. Yeah.
That's a really good point that you're saying, because I mean, I didn't even think about it that way. I mean, my kids, I pretty much just say, as long as the room smells good and you pick up after yourself, you can do what you want. Like, one likes to have XYZ and the other one, and you could see their personalities when you walk into their rooms, right? And so I totally didn't even think about it from that perspective, which is I'm patting myself on the back for being a good parent, um, because I mean, I'm just used to youth expressing themselves, and that's just part of the way I've always worked with youth. But I never thought about it in the home. That
Yeah.
yes, that to the very space that they own, are we giving them the ability to express themselves? And you learn a lot, right? You
Exactly.
learn what their interests are. You learn what they're thinking. They're more open to talking to you.
Exactly.
You're interested, you're showing and demonstrating that interest to them. Now, I know we're talking a little bit on the higher level of literacy and reading and whatnot. And so does your organization particularly focus on some of these literacy pieces, or is it just more overall information processing?
So what I have been doing, every workshop that we will organize, it's always based on the needs of the youth. So when we wanted to introduce books and so on, we had a book club. So we
Mhm.
will have different books, different based on different topics. Why? Because we wanted to push it there for our young people to start reading. We understand books. Hey, it's a whole universe there. You're gonna found out a lot of knowledge with reading. So one, I believe it was we did like a March break where
Mhm.
we had it was the book again. I think it was Coldest Winter Ever. That was the book that we were reading at that time.
Right.
And it was just like I'm not sure if you're familiar with the book, but it was really just talking about fast life and things like that. And then once we will do our reading, we'll have a meetup and we'll talk about the book. It's something that the young people really enjoy. I
Love
had to
that.
take a pause pause on a lot of activities just for personal reasons, but like we're relaunching again lots of activities this year, and I'm looking forward, and I'm really excited.
And what area do you serve? Like, does it is it like what catchment? Or
Toronto.
you just all over Canada? Because I mean, it just said Canada here, so I was just about to say yes, girl. Toronto, okay.
Toronto for now. But with everything else is that we're bringing, will be more. COVID happened, and we're seeing a lot of things happening online. So now we're
Mhm.
more open on hosting activity. Well, I speak French, so I'm going to explore the French speaking provinces as well, like Quebec, and we have a big population of French speaking in the Manitoba as well. So
Right.
I think the internet just give us, technology kind
Unlimited
of opens
access.
up a door, yeah, to
Unlimited
do more
access. Well, you
activity.
know who
Yeah.
you can talk to for business. This girl right here, honey. I got you on my business show next week. But yes,
Exactly.
that's really amazing. It's really amazing to see, and it's true. These organizations such as yourself, with missions such as yourself, are quite needed, right? Because we talk about philanthropic pieces and we talk about corporations who are helping, but I think a lot of people overlook that cultural component of it, right? And that not all kids learn the same or are interested in the same topics. And so, the things that you're doing and the
Yes.
activities that you're doing are very cultural relatable, but yet it almost sounds like you're helping them to, especially the parents, to kind of switch their belief systems a little bit so that they can help the child. Because it's true, if parents, you're not aware, and I'm talking to you parents now, I love you all, but if you're not aware of what's going on in your school system, what's going on in the neighborhoods, what's going on in social politics, right? Because sometimes kids, when you hear,
Yeah.
they want to dress a certain way or have a certain thing, that it's something they're really facing out there, that they just want to feel like part of something, part of a connection.
Yeah.
And so, this interesting
Yes.
information that you're sharing is how you're doing that, is what I love talking about, in terms of, I'm a systems and process girl. So girl, I feel you 1,000%. We do need to look at the fact that systems are everything that we do, whether it's raising our kids, whether it's working, whether it's how we handle our
Yes.
finances, building a business, these processes and what we know has to be challenged all the time, because evolution is moving things so quickly. Right now, there are always the basics to some of these pieces, but reading has been something that, yes, a
Yes.
lot of youth are facing this literacy issue, and a lot of parents are not picking up on that, right? And for some, it may be, unfortunately, some of the parents' reading levels are not super high, because I mean, my parents didn't, well, one of my parents did not graduate from high school. My mom raised, 16 brothers and sisters. So, and she was the eldest. So there
Hmm.
was not that option. My father, though, did, and he got his accounting degree and whatnot. And you can see, like, she knew how to read, write, whatever the case is, but there are things that, if a parent doesn't understand, they're not taking the steps to understand it, right? So from what I'm hearing, your organization's really helping parents to process, information that is going to support the children. Girl, you're just fabulous already. I love this. I
Thank
love
you.
this. Okay, so let's talk a little bit now about the levels of personal education that our youth are involved in. How can better reading habits help them?
How do I say this?
Oh, girl, you
I,
sound like you need some tea, honey. I don't know. Or a drink, one of the two.
no, but like I said, uh, I've been. My dad was a a teacher, educator, coordinator. Um, I even remember as maybe I was like 5 weekends. There was always books in our house. Obviously, he's an educator, and I was looking forward for the weekends because hey,
Mhm.
I'm gonna be sitting down there and then going over the the books, and I just love the color and all
Right.
that. So again, I think everything started at home. If really we could um, encourage reading happening at home,
Mm-hmm.
encourage bedtime story, um, and parents who are not, because I know there's also the language barrier and all that, but
Yeah.
you have, for an instance, when we moved to Canada, one of my sisters, she started reading like so early. She just loves like books and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the mother English level was kind of low, but the little girl was actually reading like bedtime story. Instead of the parents reading, it was the child
Oh, I
reading.
love that.
So, so that's what I'm saying. Parents just have to sometimes humble themselves. It's not a problem if you don't know. Your child can teach you as well. So uh,
Wow.
just be open to that. Because there's an expression where they said in my country, a child can play a drum and the elders can dance. So
Oh, I love
meaning
that.
you can even learn from a child. So I just the books are, we have libraries there. You don't need to buy the book. You can go to the library. Even going to the library and seeing what's already available in the community, and take the kids there. Go to the
Mhm.
library, get some books, um, and just be open to learn. Really, that's one thing that I will say to parents: be open to learn. The learning start at home.
Mhm.
This I'll say even 80% or even 90% of the learning happens at home. Whatever we're getting
True.
in school is just uh, a little plus, but the
Yes.
remaining of the learning, it needs to happen at home. So
Yes.
that's why I love to see, work happening at home, system
Mm.
happening
I
at
love
home.
your glow on this. Like you're so into this right now. I can see it. Like she's just ready to go in and snatch some people out the house. Let's go.
Yes, it's my why.
And that's the biggest purpose when you have the why. That's why I love, when we have these community conversations, because these are the conversations that are not had, right? A
Yeah,
lot of times it's organizations or even boards or agencies who are just saying we have all of these products and services, come out and use them, but they're not really showing them how to connect it to the day to day, right? Because after you read the book, then what? Right? You put it down and then what? Like, so I love the fact that you're giving the ability for parents to have a system or in processes in order to help support the growth of themselves and their children. Let's take
exactly.
a second here to welcome all the new people coming in and logging in. Welcome to Community Conversations right here on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. I'm stepping in today for your host, J. Nadia Headley. I'm here speaking with Yaya, who is from Mission for Kids, right? Did I say that right? M. I
Yeah,
want to
kids
see
on the mission
Kids
27.
on a Mission. Damn it, I went backwards. Okay, so flip it around. Kids on a Mission. She's here to help with personal growth. Today, we're really focusing on literacy and how it impacts children and youth and their families. So, if you're just logging in, feel free to hit the replay after and catch the beginning of the interview. But we're going to ask and dig a little bit more. Yaya is giving me all types of good energy here. And so, parents, get your pens and papers out. This one is for you. So we were just talking a little bit about how literacy helps in personal education. We just spoke about the ability to comprehend and process information. Let's talk a little bit about, you said something that I just
Yes.
want to kind of ask you to stretch out on. Can you give an example of how your service works so that maybe the parents can get a gauge of how they can interact with you?
Okay. Can you repeat? There was a little
Oh, there was
bug.
a
I
lag?
didn't hear
Okay.
the system.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were about to like
Yes.
answer. I was like, oh, did I just give up the government secrets? No. Um, I was asking you if you can give an example of how you would work with a family and their children, youth, and the parents, how you would work with them. So, do they have to come in person? Can they see you virtually? How does the organization help them to access your resources?
Okay, so awesome. So basically, what I have been doing so far, I have one-on-one sessions, I have group sessions,
Mhm.
And then I'll do events. And I also work with other local organizations. They will have me as a guest. Sometimes, depending on the need of the child, sometimes I have to go to their house, to their homes, and have the sessions there. But again, with technology, it kind of make things easier. So,
Mm.
sometimes we'll have a Zoom call. We're updating our website, which is will be relaunching again, so parents will be able to do their booking online. And really, we're coming. We're coming this
Okay.
2025. It's we're relaunching lots of our programs again. So basically, private, group, and then events. Those are the
Mm.
main
And some
ways
and some
that
by
you can
virtual, I'm
work
hearing.
with me. Um,
Mhm. Sorry, can you hear
exactly.
me? Oh, you can hear me still? Okay. Just let me know if you can't hear me. Um, sounds like there's a little. Can you?
Now I can hear you.
You can hear me. I was just telling you how fabulous you are. I'll say it again. Can you hear me now? Yes,
Now
maybe
I
so.
can hear you, Miss
You can hear
J.
me. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll talk and wait. I think there's just a bit of a lag. Is there a lag? Are we good now?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, wonderful. So I was don't worry, I was singing your praises the whole time. So
Okay.
so virtual is a way that people can connect with your organization. When you speak about the ways families need to support, or even the environment or communities they're in, that they're surrounded by, how can people, whether they're educators, parents, whoever they're coming in contact with, how can they support an internal drive towards personal education?
Well, I think listening, that's like the number one, because what our youth most of the time is like, oh, they don't listen to me. They don't listen to me. So I
Mhm,
feel like if we start listening to the young people, we'll get most of the answers uh, to
mhm,
some of the concerns. We need clarity. We have to listen. We want the children to listen, but we need to start listening to them as well. Uh,
right.
Once we start doing that, it makes the job easier. Even on, like I mentioned, even on creating the programs for them, it's because I'm listening to what they're saying, and based on that, I create the programs based on their needs, and that's why they enjoy. So whether you're a teacher, educator, parent, I just encourage to be open, to give the space for the young people to express themselves. Um, you might be surprised they have a lot of the solutions to their problems.
That's interesting that you say that, and I agree with you because in my experience, you know, one of the things that you get when you listen is the ability to understand what they know and what they don't
Exactly.
know and what they have wrong or what they have right. And I find that now that there's so much access to online, a lot of the kids have the ability to look up things, right? Now, not everything is right online, you know, in terms of, but they have a sense of awareness, right? Google, how do I,
Yes.
blah, 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 whatever the case is. And I think that key
Yeah.
word there is listening with the intent of understanding, right? Because a lot of parents hear, but they're
Exactly.
not actually listening to what the child's saying. They just assume you know nothing. You're a child. You're a youth. I'm the parent. I've lived longer than you, and so do you believe that belief system has to make an exit? Oh, you can't hear me again? Check one, two.
No. Hello.
Yeah. Okay, it's coming.
Yes, I hear you now.
All right, I'll kick back in. No, it's, I don't know what's the last thing you heard. Can't hear me again. Can you see me?
Yes.
No. Oh, you can see me.
Now it's freeze again.
It's freezing. Okay. So it's okay. I
Yeah.
see what you're saying. Okay, it's freezing. Okay. So I was just talking about listening. I don't know what you
Yes.
last heard, but So what are ways that parents and educators and whatnot, how should they be listening to youth? Like, should they be asking specific leading questions, or is it just, what are some
Hey, how was your day? How you feeling? You know, sometimes it's also they have to observe a child. Maybe you assign them to do a particular chore. They come home, they're just feeling like they don't want to do it. It could be a sign to tell you that something is off. Instead of just getting upset, hey, you were supposed to do XYZ, and then uh, I worked so hard. You guys left this house so messy, and you were
Mhm,
supposed to wash the dishes. And instead of like, okay, how you doing? How you feeling? How come you did not wash the dishes? How you feeling? Okay. And if there's more children at home, if one is not feeling well, maybe another one can come in and start helping. I guess it teaches empathy to everybody in the space as well, and
100%.
teamwork. Um, really, listening is just not having them talk, because when they quiet, it's also a form of communicating. So really being present. I know parents are going through a lot themselves. I understand, but we got to be present for them. That's how we can pick up some of the cue of what's not happening, and then create. Another thing I'll say that my dad did, even if he's not home, our oldest brother, he was the one who's responsible. At 6 p.m., even the parents are not there. All of us gotta have our dinner together.
No, that's
And
nice.
when we had the dinner, it was the time that we will start talking. So then we'll
Mhm,
find out how this one is doing, what's happening. It was our way of checking on each other.
mhm,
So you can create your own family ways of making sure that you're checking on your members. And I feel like at school, teachers can also implement ways in the classroom where you can check on student. There was one lady, she was going viral right now. She's in Congo.
right.
What she uses, it's singing and dancing before starting the class, because she knows some of the children are coming, they didn't eat, or maybe the parents, I don't know, did something wrong to them before coming to school. But for her to prepare the student for the lesson, knowing that there's some level of poverty, some of them are coming, they did not have breakfast, so she'll bring songs and get them excited before starting the class. It's like a devotion. I saw, like, in Jamaica. I went to Jamaica, they were doing a devotion before school,
Right,
so it was
right.
kind of like a way to prepare the students for a school day that was more productive and fun. So really, teachers they have rooms to be also creative,
Mhm,
looking at ways to get them to see what's happening with the student. And at home, parents can also do the same. And also asking them, what can we do here, because the kids will bring out so much cool ideas.
mhm.
Yeah, just get them involved.
That,
Get
and
them
there's, you know
involved
what? They're creative
at
little
home.
creatures. I love the fact that they're so creative, right? Like, if you give them a pen and a paper,
Mhm.
what comes from it, right? They're drawing
Yes,
stories, they're drawing
yes,
you, self-portraits, like, there's so much to learn from that.
yes.
And, you said something that's important, is that we don't know what they're facing when they come home, and we don't know what they're facing when they go to
Mhm.
school, right? And I think for parents and educators,
Exactly.
especially as they get older and reach into the youth age, you're far more removed. Your questions start to be, oh, how was your day? And then leave it at that, right? Or, like you said, harp on what chores need to be done and whatnot. And one of the things that we have to be careful with that, from what I'm understanding here, is, and just literally, because if you think about it, you're alienating them from the possibility of sharing, especially if they're having maybe dyslexia or some other reading challenge that you didn't see when they were children manifest as youth. And you're not asking, the questions you're not asking is hurting them, because now they show a grade, and automatically, what's
Mhm.
the first thing? You're being punished. They're taking away things from them because you got to see, instead of asking, do you understand the material, right? My son, he was
Yes.
always good at math for the longest time. As we got into high school, we started seeing his grades started slipping, and I'm like, that is not my child. And so when I spoke to him, I said, what's going on with
Mhm.
this grade going on here? And he said, Mom, he goes, it just looks like French to me. Like, and so to help him, we got him a tutor. Luckily, his godmother was a math expert, and so she really helped him to break it down and get the concepts. And let me tell you how that turned his attitude around, because he loved going to math class again. He loved writing tests. He was coming home. He was in the 50s in his early, and he shot all the way up to 85, 90 in the class because it was a comprehension problem, right? So you're on the money when we
Wow.
underestimate the power of digging deeper than the surface of just how was your day, or just slave driving as they come in, right? There was
Mhm.
something that we used to hang up in our center in the office, and it said, when a child gets upset, we call it a temper tantrum. But when an adult gets upset, we call it having a bad day. Right? When a child
Mhm.
speaks their mind, they're rude and da da da. But when an adult
Mhm.
speaks their mind, we're saying they're expressing themselves, and we say it's the same both, but they're expressing
Yeah.
themselves, right? And so it's interesting to see that's something that always stuck with me, is that you
Mhm.
know we we have so much high expectation on little humans who haven't developed
Mhm.
life
Yeah.
or experiences, and we expect them to
Mhm.
be respectful and honest and truthful and integrity, and then you deal with a whole bunch of vagabond adults who are totally opposite on the cause, right? So you know,
The
right?
other day, I say, who's keeping their parents accountable when they don't do what they're supposed to be
When
doing?
they don't do what they're supposed to do, talk to the people now. Yeah, yeah, let the people know.
I say, Mom, you have a bad day too, where you don't do some of the stuff that you're supposed to do. You have a lazy day
100%.
too. So who's calling you out?
100%. And if you think about it, when you, as an adult, work in a job, you already have the expertise. That's why you got the job, right? You put your resume
Exactly.
together saying, I have this bachelor's and I have this degree and a PhD and a master's and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
and this certificate. And, I can bring all this quality and add value to your workplace. Hire me. So you're going to
Yeah.
there to do something you've been trained on intensively.
Yeah.
These poor kids go to school for 6 to 7 hours a day and are stretching their brain to learn about things we don't even use when we get older. But they're
Exactly.
stretching their little brains, and they come home and they're tired. Like, learning is hard, right?
Yeah.
But yet we have this expectation that they should still rise to the occasion of being great housekeepers. They should be, great, you know what I mean? Financiers, like, this goes on. And I say to some of my clients, I'm like, they're like, well, Miss J, when are you going to start a young entrepreneur for kids? I say, when you know what you're doing, that's when I'll start with you. Right? When you know what you're doing, then call me, right? Because even if I
Yes.
was to teach them, they're going to learn faster than you. First off, right? They're like sponges, but
Exactly.
they soak up. They're going
Hmm.
to be more creative and innovative, and they're going to move at a rate of speed. The question is, when
Hmm.
they leave me, who's caring for them on a
Hmm.
day-to-day basis? Who's feeding the knowledge? If they're seeing you as a mom or dad or parent, caregiver, I don't care who your role model is, but if they see you sitting on the couch not pursuing your dreams, how can you turn around and tell them to go and pursue theirs? You're right.
Exactly.
Well, girl, I'm on the same page. We got to get these people talking here in community conversations, because that's what it is, right? We here, we have these conversations here. Now, tell me one. We're gonna soon start to wrap up, but I mean, there's so much good gems coming from you right now. How do you deal with kids who are children or youth who have disabilities, who have like legit warranted disabilities, how do you suggest for people to connect and support?
Um, definitely reach out to the resources. There's so much resources available
Mm-hmm.
um, here in Toronto. So I was even talking to one sister. She says she works in the library, and she was saying there was so much resources available, but the people are not aware. So
Mm-hmm.
when a child needs a particular resources that my organization doesn't provide, then I will make sure to refer to the proper organization to make sure
Love
that they
that.
get the help that they need. Yes.
That's really good. And do you find you come across you come across a lot of that?
Yes. Yes.
So are the services that you offer free, or are they're paid services? Like what's the structure there so that people understand?
Exactly. So for so long, 2011, well, my finance was in the position where I was doing this from my own pocket,
Oh
and
wow.
children, yeah, all it was all me, and if the times where the parents had to give something, it was like minimum, but the
Right.
majority were covered by me. Then I had to stop because at the time when
Oh yeah,
I started
girl.
doing,
Oh yeah, girl. I
I
tell
was
people my poor tank does no longer take Holy Spirit, does not take
exactly,
love and affection.
yes,
Yeah,
and I
I
was like,
remember.
no, it's about time that I now, change things a bit and then get resources when it comes to the finance portion of it, and start actually charging for the
Mhm.
program and so on. Um, but all these years, it was just the work of love. I had the resources on a personal level, and I did not mind to give
Yeah.
it to the community. But at this stage, if I want to let this grow to where I want to take it, it's going to require
Yes.
more. So
Sustainability.
that's exactly. So that's where I'm working on, just changing things there, looking for funds that are available when it comes to different government bodies and organizations and so on, to help out. And but the programs now will be the parents going to have to also pay some
Yeah.
the
You
programs
know,
and
and
so
it's an
on.
investment, right? It's an investment.
Yes,
If
yes.
we can take our kids to the store
Mhm.
and go to McDonald's and all these places, take that money, parents,
Mhm.
and reinvest it into them, reinvest it into their
Yes,
skills, their knowledge, and their capacity, because it's the most important thing, and I think it's a conversation. And I think you're the first person I've met in my years of doing business who are holding parents accountable to the process, because you have to.
thank
I
you.
honor you in that. I admire that, because more and more of these conversations need to be had with parents. Like, we need to stop relying on all the systems, the school systems,
Yeah.
and all these systems to take care of our children and raise our kids. We need to have
Yes.
an active role. Like, are you sitting in parent teacher conferences? Are you going to
Mhm.
parent teacher, advisory meetings or parent council meetings?
Yes.
Because those are the conversations that, and if you go to them, there's usually not even 2% of the school's population that attends. And if you go
Yeah.
to other schools in other neighborhoods, the richer ones,
Hmm.
they are packed.
Yeah.
They have a robust parent council, but a lot
Yeah.
of of the schools in the improvement areas are not supporting the system of development for their children, and so
Yeah.
your service, I think, is going to be a great bridge for that, because hopefully what they're learning through Kids on a Mission, that those skills and
Yes.
those are transferable, and they start recognizing it's not just literacy but also the ability to cross over into education or into what they're
Yes.
interested in. I mean, if you kick
Yes.
rocks back home, there's not much of that to do here. So where can you take your kids, to get that education? Love that. So where do we find Kids on a Mission? Where do we find them? Oh wow, I just realized it's right
So
there.
right now,
Mission to excel.
yes.
Girl. Gosh, I did
So
not.
we are on YouTube, Kids on a Mission to Excel. We are on Instagram as well, and our website will be available. So if you follow us on YouTube or Instagram, you will be able to see once our website is up and running again.
I love that. What we will try to do, we had a video for everyone to show the testimonials of these kings and queens, as Yaya calls them,
Yeah,
to talk about the impact of the programs that she has. So maybe what we can do is I will talk to the producers and see if we can get it maybe on the YouTube comments so people can
yeah,
click and check out what they have to say. I listen to it, adorable. I just love to see kids who have hope in their eyes. You know, I've dealt with a lot of kids in my career with human trafficking and abuse and assault, and and it's sad.
yeah.
It's really sad. And to know that you have an organization such as Kids on a Mission to Excel, it I will be part of that in some form or fashion. Because I believe in what you're doing, and I think that you are definitely opening up some great conversations today. I want to thank you, Yaya. Is there anything else you want to leave for the parents and the children or the youth?
First of all, Happy New Year to everybody, and let's put the work, okay, to create that peace and harmony. We all want it, whether you're a mom or a teen. All of us, we want that. We want that, and that's how we're gonna move forward as a community. Miss J, thank you so much for having me. It's such
More
a
than welcome.
great pleasure.
Well, you're going to see me again, but on my show, Thursdays at
Yeah,
6 p.m. Business Weekly.
yeah.
I will have actually Yaya do a follow up, and I think we'll dig some more and get some more answers and have more discussion. Thank you, Yaya, for your time and for everything that you're giving to our communities. We want to say, and we're proud here of you being part of our family here at Love Day Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your year. We will be talking soon, but stay
All right.
productive and keep the
Bye.
conversation going. Take care. Well, ladies and gents, we are coming to the top of the hour. I hope you had an amazing time. If you're hitting the replay, please take the information and use it. Sometimes we get resources and we don't realize how valuable they are until we face the problem. But one of the big things I like to say, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. And so today's topic, Beyond ABC, supporting inner growth and curiosity, is really not just about talking about education or literacy, but it's talking about how to help your children and youth express themselves in a safe space so you can learn what they know and fill the gaps, because that's what we as parents are intending to do. If you are an adult, an educator, a caregiver, aunt, uncle, grandparent, it's on you. You are part of that child or youth's village, and it's on you to find the resources that you cannot provide for them through all of these great organizations such as Kids on a Mission to Excel to help them get where they need to be. Well, that's all the tips I got from Ms. J. I hope you had an amazing session. I know I did. And please catch me starting this week, Thursday, January 9th at 6 o'clock p.m. right here on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. I've said this about a million times and the tongue twister, but I love saying it. We want to thank you for being here with us on Community Conversations. Nadia will be back next Sunday with a new topic, more guests, exciting conversations. And always remember, we talk about what's local, what's global, and what's relevant to success. Keep the conversation going, and we wish you the best for the 2025. Take care and have a good one. Bye.